This is AFLCenter, brought to you by Adrian Peterson's Switch. If your 4-year-old scrotum has an itch, use Adrian Peterson's Switch. Also brought to you by Kyle Horton Vodka. If it gets him drunk, you'll be wasted. And of course, the month of Movember. Do what the AFL commissioner did and grow out your goatees, because his is fantastic. This is AFLCenter. Good evening and welcome to AFLCenter. Along with Mark Grace and of course Darth Vader, I am your host, Jamie Burkett. Our studio is coming from you deep in the man cave. My man cave, actually, here in Greenville, South Carolina. I bring to you AFLCenter. Obviously, this is week 12 is over, so we are entering week 13, which is our playoffs. Let's get right into it, but first, let's start with those lovable losers of the Toilet Bowl. First matchup features El Norte at 1-11 versus Pure Stevel at 4-8. The second matchup has Team Can-Do, who figured out the league, obviously, at 1-11 versus Death Wish at 4-8. Death Wish is a 28-point favorite in his game against TKD, and Pure Stevel is a 14-game favorite. Now, this isn't the most accurate thing because it uses starters that are listed, like I'm making this video Tuesday night of week 13. So it's using the starters that each team has listed. So sometimes there's going to be a player on a bye or whatever. I've actually done this before where on a Tuesday I start all my scrubs for a Tuesday. So it looks like I'm completely going to get hammered that weekend. And then as Sunday approaches, I put in all my real starters, and then all of a sudden I'm a favorite. So these point spread aren't completely accurate. I'd rather go by just average points per game. So Death Wish still is a favorite. They're the only team that has averaged over 100 points per game with 103. Next behind that is TKD has averaged 95 points per game. Stevel's averaged about 90 points per game, and El Norte has averaged just 80.5 points per game. So the real favorite to win the Toilet Bowl, in my opinion, is going to be Death Wish. Now, the interesting thing about the Toilet Bowl here is El Norte is the only team of the four to actually have their pick last year. El Norte hasn't traded that pick away. So it's guaranteed that El Norte will have a top 4 pick. Now remember, if you win this round, you go on to the next round, which means you're going to either win. If you win that, you play for the number 1 pick. So if you win next week, whoever wins the Toilet Bowl next week wins the first round pick. If you lose that game, you get the 4th pick. So then, if you lose this week, you're either guaranteed the number 2 or 3 pick, depending on the tiebreaker. So, like I said, right now, El Norte is the only team to have their pick next year. The other interesting thing here is Death Wish does not have their pick. Who owns it? But TKD. So it actually behooved TKD to tank what else is new this season, so that Death Wish can win next week and thus give TKD the number 1 pick of next year. Of course, we all know TKD will trade that pick away because he can get something better for it anyway. Let's go on to our division winners. First, congratulations to all the division winners, Uber Noobs, Windy City, Troopers, and Old School, but a special congratulations to the Uber Noobs, as this is their first ever division championship. I believe they made it to the AFL Bowl back in the very first year, and just made it through as a wild card, but this is their very first division championship, so congratulations to the Uber Noobs. This is also Old School's first division championship since the expansion. They once made it to they once won the division back in 2006. So since the expansion age, this is also their first their first division win. So congratulations to them as well. Windy City won their division way back in only back in 2010, so not too long. And obviously everyone knows my track record is probably the greatest fantasy dynasty ever, only losing one game in 2 years. Not bad. Anyway, obviously Old School is the favorite to win everything here. Their all-play record, I really go by the all-play record. Basically, the all-play record means if you played every single team every week, what would your record be? Basically, Old School would win 81% of all games that they play against, So that means to me that he's got an 81% chance of winning the whole kit and caboodle here. The Troopers all-play record is just about 69%. Windy City's about 60%, and the Uber Noobs only have about a 51% chance of winning. And again, these are all by your all-play records. Obviously, Old School scores about 133 points per game. That's just 20-some points over, me and Windy City, and almost 30 points more than Uber Noobs. So really, Old School is the favorite to win here. So, I don't know, we'll see. You just never know until you play the game. Somebody might get hot here, come through from the wild card. That happened with me in 2011. I was just a wild card and I made the way through. But let's go on and look at next week's matchups. Alright, that brings us here to Week 13, the AFL wildcard round. Let's just go right down the list. The first game is against the Cat Stranglers and Dr. Cube. Again, according to the schedule, as of Tuesday night, Cat Stranglers are a 3-point favorite. I guess, too, you'd probably have to add the home field advantage in there. So they're favored by about a touchdown. Again, the average points for the Cat Stranglers outscore Dr. Q by about 17 points per game. And also, let's look at the all-play record. The Cat Stranglers win about almost 60% of their games, where Dr. Cube was only about 35-36%. So the fact that the Cat Stranglers average 17 more points per game and they win almost 25% more of their all-play games, I really think that Cat Stranglers are going to come through in this matchup. Sorry, Dr. Cube. Our second matchup features not shadowboxing versus Lucky Rabbit. This is a strange one, as Lucky Rabbit is favored to win by 5.6 games, again, according to the schedule, on a Tuesday night. You add the home field advantage to that, that's over a touchdown that Lucky Rabbit is favored. However, if you look at the average points for, not shadowboxing actually scores between 9 and 10 points more per game than Lucky Rabbit. Taking that further, not shadowboxing's all-play record is about 49%, where the Lucky Rabbits is only 37-38%. So therefore, I predict that not shadowboxing will win, as they win about 11% more of their all-play games than the Lucky Rabbit does. Let's move on to the other conference, the lesser conference, as I like to call it. The next matchup is probably the closest matchup we have, and it's a little deceiving, as Rolling Thunder is actually favored to win by 10 points, according to their Tuesday night schedule. Even if you factor in home field advantage, that's almost 2 touchdowns that they're favored to win. However, I'm assuming that's probably because there's probably, I think Carolina had a Week 12 bye, so that might account for Cam Newton on Tortugas not even being started yet. So I think that line is going to change as the starting lineup solidify here. If you look at their average points per game, Tortugas only scores 0.9, not even 1 point more per game on average than the Thunder. And the all-play record, Tortugas' all-play record is 53%, where Thunder's is almost 52%. So that almost that 1 point average per game that Tortugas outscores the Thunder equates to about a 1.6% chance extra that they're going to win this game. So out of all these games, this one is going to be the most hard to predict. This could just really go right down to the wire. Depending on, again, the NFL schedule, I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't decided until, even next Wednesday or Thursday after the final NFL point totals are released. The final matchup is Prime against Quiet Assassins. Obviously, this is a matchup that's had a little bit of controversy earlier in the year, and we will get to that later in the broadcast. But as it stands, Quiet Assassins are favored to win by 41 points. That's going to change as the lineup solidify going into the week. So let's look at first the average points for. Average points for Quiet Assassins score about 111 points per game, where Prime scores about 100 a game. So there's 11 points difference there. That's anytime you get double digits, that's a pretty good differentiator. Also, the all-play record, out of all the teams playing in the wild card round, Quiet Assassin's all-play record is the best at 63%. And just looking real quick, that means that Quiet Assassins also, they have the third best all-play record in the league. This team has probably the best chance of actually making it through the wild card round all the way to the championship, because they're, by all-play record, the third best team in the league. Stay tuned next week for more AFL Center. Coming up next, our 30 for 30 series, Green with Envy, how the Trent Green trade changed the AFL.